Hello, Garland Nixon here with Matt Weinglass, and we got RFK Jr. is now officially the head of HHS. We've got some new information coming out about Fizer studies, various other things that I think we ought to talk about. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here again with Matt Weinglass. He of the homeless left on on Rumble. Check him out. They do a lot of really good stuff over there. Matt, welcome back to my channel for our weekly talk.
Thank you, Garland, for having me back. Love our conversations as always.
So let's start here. I think RFK Jr.'s in, right? And we kind of see, I don't know, they call themselves the resistance. They certainly are good at resisting peace. That's for darn sure. That's about what they resist well. But RFK Jr. is in, right? And I believe that you heard the old saying, sunshine is the best disinfectant, right?
Yeah.
So there are those of us who had a lot of questions about COVID, mainly about most of our questions weren't about COVID. It was about government policy. It was about government health policy, right? Now RFK Jr.'s in, and apparently the whatever you want to call them, the resistance, whoever they are, seem to be starting some kind of weird smear campaign. Have you noticed this smear campaign? And maybe you could talk about out your way. You're out in, I often use this word when I refer to LA and Hollywood as blue no matter who land. But you're out there. What's happening with the campaign, and what's your thoughts on it?
Well, you're definitely right. This Hollywood land we're in here, this is definitely vote blue no matter who land. And they do the thing that you were like, they're not going to really do this. They're not going to really double down on this. Yes, they are. They're doubling down on the smear of RFK Jr. And we understand how the propaganda works. You're fed the information, you're fed the opinion, and then you think that you came up with it on your own. So all we're seeing here in LA, we're just seeing people just scared to death. I'm seeing on everyone's social media these are entertainment professionals. Okay, these aren't just like random people. These are people that hold industry positions here in Hollywood, and they're posting that they are scared to death of this guy coming in now. They're saying that he's going to be responsible for their death because he's going to eliminate vaccines altogether. He's got this plan to that he's not all there. He's crazy. They've been doing that, the brainworm thing, for a while. I think people know that one. The one they're doubling down on now, on top of all that he's crazy and he's got a brainworm. They're talking about this racist campaign they're doing on him now. They're going back to, I don't know if your viewers remember this, Garland, but there was a leaked video from like 2 years ago. This is like before October 7th. This is where he's talking about the makeup of the vaccine, of the COVID vaccine. He talks about how it affects people differently. And you and I know, and we understand that there's some levels of complications there that we have to look at, because when we look at science, we say that it's not a one size fits all model. And that's what he was talking about. We found a path there and say, well, what was he referring to there? But he did mention African-American people versus different kinds of other races of people, and how they're going to be affected based on their makeup, and how they're going to respond to COVID, and how they're going to respond to this vaccine. So they're recycling that information now, and they're presenting it to people in a way in which they're saying this guy is dangerous, like Elon, like Trump, and they're putting them all into this category of dictator, crazy, racist, every possible name you can be called, and of course, anti-science. That's the main one. But you and I know that the number one thing we should be concerned about, RFK Jr., the only one they don't mention is the Zionism. That's the thing. So it's complete. We're in bizarro world right now, Garland. And one last thing I'll say before passing back to you, the ridiculousness of a Democratic Party who once stood for health and our kids being well and us living healthy and being skeptical of big pharma and big food. It's all gone. They have no skepticism at all. They protect the powerful. They protect big food, big pharma, and they're ready to double down with the DNC, with the vote blue no matter who crowd, and attack this guy and continue living in fear as they do it.
Chris Hedges once said, anytime a mainstream media outlet starts has their headline is a question, the answer is always no, right? Look at this. You want to talk about playing these kind of games? Can RFK Jr. really take away ADHD medications, right? To talk about a smear campaign, and when you look at it, a recent executive order has sparked widespread concern about the availability of medications treating ADHD, right? Okay. And when you read it, right, it says the Maha Commission to produce a report on children's health, assessing the prevalence of and threat posed by the prescription of selective serotonin. Now, wait a minute. Right? Weight loss drugs, stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin are commonly used to treat ADHD. So what they say is, so now they're going to produce a report assessing the prevalence of and threat posed by certain drugs. Can RFK Jr. really take away ADHD medications? Well, that's not what that article says.
No.
We're going to look into and see how much they're used, and are they threatening? Are they okay? Oh my God, don't look into that. That means because they know so many people only look at the headline, and then people will walk away. How you doing? Have you heard RFK Jr. is going to take away ADHD medications? Really? Did you tell me about it? He's going to take them away. He's trying to get rid of all of them. You know what I mean? You ask a question that the answer clearly we know is always going to be no. You know what I mean? First of all, he as an individual can't do it. There'd have to be a study, and then they'd have to make determinations, and then they'd have to make decisions about, is it more dangerous or less dangerous to use it or not use, and on and on and on. And basically, they don't want people to look into these ADHD medications because they're giving them away like they're M&Ms, and it's okay to ask. They're money-making machines. But I think that's part of the smear campaign. Yes, specific things that we can talk about, but in general, they just keep like shotgunning, throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, and you nailed it there. That's the blueprint, is get you that fear-mongering headline, even though when you read the article, and they do this all the time. So we understand this, but people keep falling for this. They don't sit back, just take that moment, step back, look at it, read the actual article, stop going on headlines, stop going on memes, like look at some stuff, and you'll see. I heard an example. I remember when RFK Jr. was running earlier, when he was actually running as the independent, and there was this comparison when he was talking about vaccine safety studies, and somebody made a comparison to when Ralph Nader went for he wants to put safety into automobiles, and we had the whole the seatbelt situation. And I thought it was such an interesting comparison, because you're like, well, look, if a car needs to have a seatbelt and you're pushing for a seatbelt so people are safe in cars, would you call that person anti-car? Like, that's how ridiculous it is to say you are anti something when you're looking for safety to improve that something. And so that's the part that people completely miss here with RFK and the vaccines.
Right. If RFK Jr. fights vaccines now, Texas measles outbreak will end him. I love those stories that start with that. If he does this, then that'll happen. But what do you mean by fights vaccines? If he says, we got to look into this, and you know how it is. You always look at the story. Sometime the accident, and you read down here, and there's a picture of him. And when you look down, he grew up, there's a whole bunch of crap. There's nothing in here anywhere. There's a Texas measles outbreak. Okay, fair enough. Kennedy said he wouldn't stop child vaccination. Well, clearly that's going to make things, everything. Now, you read an article that says if he fights vaccinations. Well, let's look at the article. It says he wouldn't stop child vaccination. It's literally the opposite of what they're saying.
Yeah.
He must now tout the vaccine to save lives. And so when you look at the article, they put this, attention grabbing if. he fights vaccines. And you look at it, it's like, he says he's not going to stop child vaccinations. But it's good to question and say, why do they have it now that a 6-month-old child is getting a COVID vaccine? You know what I mean? And all these other things. It's okay to, what they're saying is this: don't question anything that we're doing. And if you do, you're evil and you're going to kill everybody.
Yeah, 100%. And when we go back to those hearings themselves, the thing that stuck out to us when we're watching from our vantage point is when he backstepped on all this, when he said, I promise to follow the CDC schedule when I get in. I mean, that should have been the headline. What are you talking about? You said you were going to look into these vaccines, and you just mentioned it, Garland. The childhood vaccine schedule includes now multiple COVID shots. So if you're already told us that this thing is not safe, not effective, of course, we're not saying that, Garland, right?
No, everybody knows.
Yeah,
I don't know about you. I just got 3 boosters this morning, just before this show. So it just gives me energy, kind of like a cup of coffee.
I'm going to get, as soon as we're done, I'm going to go get another one myself. But we're just reporting, Garland, we're reporting that RFK Jr. has stepped back that stance. Before the hearings, he was talking about going into and looking at this particular shot. There's no reason it should be on a childhood vaccination schedule. So for him in the hearing itself to say, I promise I will follow the CDC schedule, makes us go, what are you even going to do when
let me throw this in as a guy who used to do statement analysis and investigations, right? And I understand how you do that talk. I will follow the CDC schedule. Now, if the schedule happens to change shortly after I get in, I will be following the CDC. See, what they knew is, when he's a lawyer and a politician, and he already knows the game, I will follow the CDC schedule. Okay. And now when I come in, if I change the CDC schedule and take something off of it, I'm still following it. So I think they understood. As a lawyer, you can say anything you want to and still, you know what I mean? So, but there's a discussion to be had there. But he didn't say he was going to keep doing what the CDC schedule is today. He just said he was going to follow the CDC schedule, and should it happen to change, he would be following the CDC schedule. You know what I mean?
I love your analysis, Garland. It's giving me a little hope that he's actually got this plan. And yes,
he's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. Your lawyer skills.
Always look for holes in what a lawyer. A lawyer always leaves open-ended everything. I will do this. Sure, I'll do it, but that doesn't mean if the CDC schedule becomes nothing, 0, well, then I ain't not following it. I didn't say I would keep it the same.
Yeah,
I didn't say I would take anything off or add it. I just said I'll follow it.
That is a more hopeful analysis than I previously had, gone for sure. But then we have to also look at the other side as devil's advocate here. Even if he is doing everything he can to maneuver using his lawyer skills, getting in there, he's got this plan. He's going to actually do this thing. He's actually going to make America healthy again. That's the slogan. That's what he's going to go for. Okay, great. But here's the problem with this. The way the system is designed is that you have this, the Health and Human Services Committee that he's now talking to them. He has a team in place and he's instructing them. He's telling them, this is what we need to do. And he gave a great speech to the new team. He said, hey, we're here together. And this was right after he got in. This was like 10, 11 days ago. He gets in, he looks him in the eye. He says, let's start from scratch. Let whatever you've heard, preconceived ideas, forget about it. We're starting from square one. We want to have an honest relationship, establish a mutual intention to work towards what we all care about is the health of the American people. That's what he told them. That sounds great. What a great start. Here's the problem, Garland. Once you get moving, you got the people that are in that room with him. A lot of them might not even like him. A lot of them might be already getting their payouts. They might be already being influenced. These are people that their job for the next 4 years is going to be to go to RFK and make him think, kind of pretend, hey, we're going to put a commission together for you, RFK. We're going to look right into vaccine safety. We got a team together. We're working on it. We'll get back to you. Or we're going to look, whatever you want to look at. You can look into whatever, fluoride in our toothpaste or whatever we got a team, RFK. We're going to do it. And we'll keep you updated. And then 4 years go by and they have nothing for him. So this idea that you put there's a team working on it, that committee is actually not doing anything. And what does he do at that point? Even though he did all the things right to get in there, he has his plan, he's got his team. but are they even doing anything except we're having meetings, we're having weekly meetings, we're looking into it, and then nothing actually gets done.
Yeah. Well, and being a guy that was an environmental lawyer that went against big corporations, I think he understands the game and how they put you off. So here's the bottom line. This is a reality. There's been a lot of years building this pro big pharma machine. And one can only hope that he'll go in there and go to war with the machine. You know what I mean? One can only hope. Well, here's what we know. I'd rather have somebody in there that knows the truth, that'll ask the questions, than the same old schlumuzzle that we get. So you got a chance, right? You got a chance. If he makes some changes, that'll be good. You know, like somebody had put to the ADHD medication, right?
Yeah.
I'm an ADHD guy, definitely big time, right? But I took medication for 10 years, which was Wellbutrin, right? And I did notice, to be honest, man, it really helped a lot, right? It really did. But after 10 years, I thought I tell you what happened. I knew a guy that was taking another medication, and he had a heart attack at a young age, and he almost died, and he lived. And then and only then did he find out, well, you know, that's something that we found from long-term use of that. You know what I mean? Like, they come out with a new medication, and that quick, they release it, and then you take it, and 10 years later, they start noticing, you know, now that we've noticed it, you know, we're starting to see long-term use causes this or that, right? And I'm like, you know, Wellbutrin ain't been out. It's not really changing anything in my life, but it ain't been out all that long. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be a guinea pig. And I just stopped taking it and went on with my life. And I was fine. I was fairly successful before I started taking it. Nothing changed all that much better. So I just decided, why should I take this medication, not knowing in the long term that I croak, you know, at 55 or something. And they're like, hey, you know, now that we look at it, it kills everybody in 15 years. So that's the thing about it too. I hope that they start to look into these medications, take longer. When the medication comes out, a medication, they need to start. They can't just let the companies release a medication and, quote, do their studies to let us know about the long-term safety and efficacy, because they're going to tell them it's fine no matter what. You know, there's a lot of things that need to be happening. Our so-called medical and pharma system is a complete disaster. Well, you know what it is. It's just a neoliberal money making, and who cares if you die?
Yeah. And there's another one I just remembered. I mean, I know people have heard of this one, the Ozempic. Yes. This one's horrible, Garland. This one's been going around here in the Hollywood community
everywhere.
It's everywhere. And I talk to my colleagues, I talk to people, I say, don't be a guinea pig. Please don't do this. There's other ways for weight loss. There's other ways I know I get the whole diabetes thing. I go, they're looking for cures. I get it. They want to be better, and they think this is a way to do it. And by the way, it also sheds weight from you. Yeah, it's also putting a lot of horrible stuff into your system, and it's creating new problems, and it's really, really bad. And I don't know what to tell people that are doubling down on this stuff and continuing to put themselves as guinea pigs into this machine, this big pharma machine, as you mentioned. Even though there's a lot of us that are figuring it out, and a lot of people that are waking up for the first time, which is great. And we do see a lot of people doing their own research now outside of this whatever community in this town I'm in. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that will never ever start doing their own research, and they'll continue to be the guinea pig. And I'm pretty afraid of what's going on with this Ozempic. It's hurting a lot of people right now. Garland, I don't know. I'm trying to shake them by the shoulders, but we can't. I don't know.
This stuff, most people are like, oh yeah, it works great. They don't know what it does. It paralyzes your stomach muscles.
Yeah.
It literally the food goes into your stomach, and the muscles that normally move it along to the next area and the next area, it paralyzes it. So your muscles are paralyzed in your stomach. So the stuff just sits there.
Yeah.
And you're not hungry because your stomach's still full. And if you've got diabetes, it's not giving you these, shots of insulin and glucose and all that stuff. So it seems to stop the diabetes from, your blood sugars from spiking, all that. But it's like this. Imagine if you laid on a bed and didn't move a muscle for 12, 14, 20 weeks, you wouldn't be able to get up. And these are muscles. Muscles must be exercised. Muscle must be used. Just like a person who goes on to, there are some people that when they start taking the testosterone supplement, their body stops making it and they got to take that for the rest of their life because their body's, okay, well, I don't need to make it. There's a lot of medications that people don't know. If you start taking this medication, it may be something that your body makes. Your body will stop making it and you can't get off that medication. What happens? You take this, your stomach's paralyzed. You say, well, I think I'm going to stop. And those muscles can't, they're paralyzed. You've been on it for God only knows how long. You know, there's people going to the emergency room. There's people having blindness, all kind of craziness from that. And it's like, everybody take those. There was a stuff, you remember years ago, it was a lot of years ago though. I barely remember. It was called Fin.
I do remember Fin.
And it was for people losing weight. And they started having heart attacks and they stopped it. So 2-3 years, these people could find that, well, you can't get off, you know, you got to take this for the rest of your life. Or I mean, and they're just all, okay. Oh, did you know the company that makes Ozempic was trying to get it covered by Medicaid? And what they were pushing was there's a lot of obesity in children. It should be covered with Medicaid because poor children, obesity is bad. And this could be the first drug of choice for obese children. Now, why are some poor children obese? Because they're poor and they have to get their nutrition from very bad, you know what I mean? Happy Meals that are $1 or that are subsidized by the government, but they get their nutrition from very poor fat-filled nutrition. And so their weight's not good or sugar or whatever. And so instead of dealing with the nutritional issues of poverty, we'll give them Ozempic. And these kids, they're like kids 10 years old. You're screwing them up for life.
Man, we should be going in the opposite direction when you're talking about the poor. We're talking about the people that don't have access and they have, like you said, they rely on cheaper food products. But when the truth comes to light, when we understand that the food system has been corrupt this whole time, that we're way worse off than Europe, where RFK Jr. pointed this stuff out. And you would think that people on the left, you think that people in, these communities that would care about this stuff and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know Red 40 dye was in all of our cereals and catalogs. I didn't know that stuff. Oh, they banned that in Europe. I didn't know that. Why do we have such a horrible situation here? What is going on here? And RFK Jr. says, I'm going to fix this. That was one of his promises, by the way, that's the first thing he was going to do is get Red 40 dye out of our foods. So we're going to try and hold him to that one, Garland.
Yeah.
The other thing he said was we're going to take big pharma commercials off of our TVs. That's another thing. So just those two promises, you would think, put everything else aside, you're going to get those two things done. Everybody should be on board for that. Everybody. Who would not be on board for that? So that's how we understand that it is an actual campaign being launched against him, and the victims are the people being propagandized by the misinformation that can't look at these two things and say, wow, that would be great. I would love my kid not to be eating Red 40 dye in their cereal in the morning before school. Wow, I would love to not have another pharma ad come on the commercial when we're trying to watch football on Monday night. Like that would be great, but no, they don't see that. So, but we're going to hold him hopefully accountable and he can get those things done. That would be a great start.
Yeah, you're correct. And and what has happened is in the same way that like right now I get called a Trumper. You're a Trump supporter. Why? And I say, look, yeah. I'm a lefty. I'm not for screw these parties. I'm independent. But if Trump says I'm going to end a war, I'm anti-war. Great, let's end this war. I don't care what war it is. Any war that's going on. Hey, let's end the war against, I don't know, the Martians. I'm in. Great, yeah. Good job. I'm not going to say don't because I hate Trump. And so what people want to do is, well, he's one of Trump's guys. I don't care whose guy he is. How about this? He was a Democrat.
Yes.
Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat.
Yes.
The Democrats ran them out, and now they've come to power, and the Democrats are gone. You had people like that were supporting the Democratic Joe Reagan, on and on. There's so many people that were one time were Democrats aren't, and now you're going to get it, man. It's people that you ran out of the party. The strength of your party were people who would question big pharma or the war machine. Now you can't do that in your party, and you wonder why you lost.
People don't generally change, Garland. This is the part that people miss, the people in the Vote Blue No Matter Who camp miss. You should be concerned, 100% concerned. Why did these people leave the party? Did they change or did the party change? You should be even more concerned that a guy like Dick Cheney joined your party, supported Kamala Harris. These are the things, these are the red light, or what do you call it, the red flag moments immediately. You think that Dick Cheney in his old age, he just woke up one day and said, I'm going to be a more humanitarian person. I'm going to join the party of inclusion and diversity and acceptance. No, he's still a warmonger. He just realized, oh, Kamala's platform aligns up more with me. The guy that we were fighting against the entire 2000s when we literally called him Darth Vader. If you're still part of the Democratic Party and you don't recognize that Darth Vader joining your team and RFK Jr., a Kennedy, a lifelong Democrat, leaving your team, and you don't see that there's something wrong with your team, I don't know what to tell you. You're living under a rock.
I did want to ask you something that I one of the things, if you ask me, what would you have him look into? And I would say, amongst all the other stuff you said, I think there needs to be studies into the long-term effects of the jab.
Yeah.
I know people who have gotten it, friends who have had various health problems ever since they got it, from some more serious, some less serious, right? But they got the jab and then they had a reaction. And ever since then, every so many months, they're in back to the doctor with this problem or that problem. I know people who suddenly popped up with these weird, cancers, people who had cancer before, and all of a sudden it pops back up, and all of this kinds of stuff, right? Where it's like, major, quick growing and all that, right? Okay. Someone could say you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. I haven't said what it is or it isn't. I just think it's conspicuous that these things are happening. And I think that we do need an investigation into the long-term effects and as to whether or not they're connected. I'm not saying they are or there aren't, but to me, all these people run around talking about the science should say, well, you know what, Garland, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, and we need an investigation because it'll show that you're wrong. Well, I hope it does, but I just hope we have the investigation. That's something I would like to see. Go ahead.
Yes. No, the investigations are happening with or without RFK Jr. We know that they've been happening. We just don't get news coverage of them. They just don't come out. We do a segment on our show, The Homeless Left, where we say top censored news of the week. So this is the stories that the mainstream media refuses to cover. If they do cover them, they do it in a sloppy way or dishonest way. It's always on purpose, but a lot of times they just get left out of the news feed. And so what we saw last week was that Yale had finished a study. The scientists at Yale did a study that looked at the long-term effects of the spike protein from the jab and in several patients. And they saw not only a complete immune system breakdown, but they were looking at the days. How long does that spike protein stay in your body? And by the way, it doesn't just stay in the shoulder. We already know that it goes throughout the entire body. That's affecting everything, the neurological makeup, your cardiovascular makeup, everything. It's affecting everything. But how long does it stay? Well, in this study, they found out at least 709 days since the shot, they still have traces of the spike protein. That's what they're seeing. And so we know this right now. Now, look, the RFK Jr. being able to lead more studies. Yes, we need that. And we need more media on it. I don't know how that part's going to change because he doesn't get to control the media, as we talked earlier, Garland, about the perception of the media, the shock headline, the fear campaign. We're not going to necessarily get this information out to people. But yes, more studies, more looking at this. We shouldn't be, when someone goes down randomly, and like you said, we don't know what it is. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. I don't know why an 18-year-old fully fit, fully healthy basketball player just drops dead. I don't know why a soccer player just drops dead. I don't know, Garland. It could just be random. But we have to stop this approach to seeing something like that happen and then immediately saying, well, we know what it's not. And that has got to stop. We have to consider every possibility moving forward. And there's a lot to consider because there's a lot of people suffering right now, like you said.
Well, yeah, and I recall. I mean, what I have a lot of us because we didn't have the scientific studies. There was a lot of anecdotal stuff, and being as a person that's unvaccinated, right? As an example, I remember what was the name of that variant? The one that was the one where everybody got it. It was right around Christmas time. That was the one that.
Delta? The
Nope,
Delta. Oh,
that's
the
not
other
it.
one.
I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
Everybody got it. It was the
Yeah.
most transmissible thing in the world. It was when it went from being bad to less bad with this variant, right? And then literally when some people were like, I forgot who it was. Somebody said, yes, this is the vaccine. That's what they called it because it was a variant that didn't kill anybody, but everybody got it. And if you remember, all on TV, they were all looking for the first death. What's going to be the first death of the new whatever variant? I thought it
was
with an
Omicron.
H.
That's the one.
Omicron, right? And they were looking for the first death. And then they said, we've got the first death. It was in Texas. And then we found out that no, it wasn't somebody, you know what I mean? And then immediately after Omicron, they stopped keeping track of deaths. And it was like, because it really didn't kill anybody. It was like a nasty cold, right? But here's the interesting thing. I remember the day I took the test and they're like, you got it. And I felt crappy, like a bad, something really weird going on. And I knew and everybody I knew was getting it, right? Like a flu, like a bad flu it was, some worse than others. But a guy I knew that had at that time like 3 or 4, I think he had either 3 or 4. He had like online and said, oh yeah, look how many I got. Okay. I got it. And to be frank, for about 10 days, I was coughing and what have you for about a week. About 10 days, I was very tired. So I was dealing with a lot of tiredness for about 10 days. And someone sent me, a buddy of mine sent me a certain, shall we say, unacceptable thing that has been attacked as being horse-based. I tried that. And within 1 day, I was feeling better. And within 2 days, I walked away and I was better. I mean, that's my story. I'm not making it up. My symptoms were mostly gone. It was about 10 days, but I was still tired. I was going to bed early. I just felt like, tired all the time. And the guy's like, here, try this. And he mailed it to me. I tried it. And like the very first day, I'm like, hey, I'm feeling better. That was Friday. I tried it. Monday, I went back to work. It's fine. But my friend who had multiple you-know-whats was like 8 weeks. I think he ended up in a hospital. He had pneumonia. I mean, he went to hell. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. I mean, I'm unvaccinated and this guy's multiple boosters and everything else. And he went to crap, right? And that's when I first started thinking, perhaps the more you got, this thing must hurt your back. And so there has been a wide discussion about the potential for a deterioration of the immune system for a number of reasons. And now apparently you're telling me there is some study that corroborates those suspicions.
Yeah, the Yale study is showing that the immune system damage they're finding is similar to the changes caused by HIV. It's that bad. And we understood that when that was the big problem, and HIV was destroying people's immune system, and it led to them eventually getting AIDS. That was we remember that.
Right.
But it was about the destruction of the immune system first that led to that. So they were both connected, HIV then AIDS, and then hopefully you didn't take the AZT.
And you wouldn't be here to tell anybody if you did.
Yeah, that again, yes. So you point something out very, very concerning, Garland, is that when you're looking at two different subjects and you're going to take this horse pace, as we call it, that it's helped so many people. It's an award winning, it's a Nobel Prize winning horse pace, I guess you would say. But it's so effective for so many people. But like you pointed out, some people, maybe their immune system's already shot and it's not going to have the same effect. It's very, very concerning. So we need more studies like this to say what is happening in people's immune system. Now, here's a good news. We know that there's ways you can treat a failed immune system. We don't know if that spike protein's ever going to go away in your body, but we do know there's ways you can repair your immune system. One way is intermittent fasting. That's something that has checked out across the board, Garland. We've seen this of so many different examples of this checking out. I haven't seen one, and I've gone to it. I would say, let me be devil's advocate. Let me see if there's a downside to this. There is no downside to intermittent fasting. You want to give your body, you want to give your digestive system an opportunity to not be working for a long period of time during the day, through the night. I mean, we don't eat at night anyways, but when you wake up in the morning, skip that breakfast. You don't need that breakfast. I'm telling you, you guys need to repair that digestive system. And this isn't just people that have had a bunch of bleeps in the arm. We're talking about for everyone, anybody that wants to repair their immune system. This should be for all of us. See how long you can go. If you can get to a 16-hour, that's optimal. A 16-hour time frame in the day that counts the night before up to the next day, before your next meal. You're doing your body a big service to allow it to rest. And during that rest, it can start to regenerate any sort of anything that has gone wrong. So that includes whatever spike protein, but anything else, any contaminants in your body can start to heal. It can't do that if your digestive system is working. So throw that model out the window, that food pyramid that had bacon in it. By the way, there was bacon in the food pyramid. I want to remind people that was in there. Okay.
White bread was in there, under grains, white bread.
Yeah. Get that out. Throw that away. This 5 meals a day crap, forget it. And this breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Forget it. It's not true. It's not true. You can have a nice meal. Let your body recover before you do that and go on with your day. You'll have more energy, by the way. You'll have more energy. All of this checks out. We've seen, FLCCC, Dr. Pierre Corey. We've seen the wellness company, Peter McCullough. They've all checked this out. Everybody agrees. Just give yourself a rest. That's the best thing you can do. That's all we can do. That and exercise and water and vitamin D. These are all the things that Dr. Fauci used to tell us every day on TV. Oh, wait, never mind. He never told us that. That's right. I forgot. He never had time to tell us because he was too busy telling us to stay away from each other, wear 4 masks, and don't go to school because it's shut down and your small business is gone too. So that's what he was doing.
It may be TMI, but this is we're all humans and we're all men and we have similar processes. Let me tell you a story that happened to me recently in recent months. So I was having some issues. I went to the doctor, and of course, being a upper middle-aged guy, whatever, I thought, oh my God, I could have prostate cancer or something. But all of the tests said, you're fine. Every test I took, you're fine. I'm like, but I got pain. I got this and that. And the doctor said, well, looks like you've got inflamed prostate syndrome. I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, it'll go away. It'll stick around. It's inflammation of the prostate or whatever. It's a pain in the neck. Literally a pain in the ass, right? And but the doctor was just like, drink a lot of water and hopefully it'll go away soon or whatever. This went on for about a month, right? It was not terrible, not miserable, but an aggravation, right? What's the word I'm looking for? Discomfort. Okay. So I had some stuff in my fridge that I use, and it's this super concentrated turmeric, right? And I picked it up and I looked on the front and it said supports increased inflammation response. And I thought, And I thought to myself, well, I like to juice anyway. So I said, I'm going to go now. I'll go natural, right? So I had all organic celery juice, carrot juice, red pepper juice, parsley, all of these organic things. And I started making these big things of juice. And this super concentrated turmeric, I started taking a shot of that in the morning, a shot of that in the afternoon, right? 2 days it was gone. 2 days, back and forth to the doctor, and the doctor was like, well, it's discomfort. It's not that bad. You can live with that. They had nothing. I do juicing and turmeric juice 2 days. About 90% gone about 2 days. And before I realized it, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I haven't even thought about that in a week. And but a lot of issues that we have are inflammation related. And when you do things to remove inflammation, as you said, what is one of the things that fasting, sorry about that.
No worries.
One of the things that fasting does is lowers inflammation in your body. And you lower inflammation in your body, the less everything, all your illnesses, all of your cancers, everything, you lower the inflammation. That doesn't mean you'll never get sick, might get hit by a bus, for God's sake. I'm just saying lower inflammation means healthier. But what we learn is there's an advertisement. Are you having a problem with this? Ask your doctor if smalizone is right for you. And then at the end they say, by the way, taking smalizone may cause your feet to fall off. Whatever the hell. You're not supposed to watch the last part of it.
Yeah, our entire Western medicine model is completely corrupt, Garland. And by the way, congratulations for figuring that out. And I'm just so happy that you did that. And I hope more people can take those type of initiatives for themselves and understand that we have to work against this Western medicine machine that we have to fight against, because it's completely backwards. We're like this whole, you remember this COVID zero, we got to stop it. It can't. It's like everything is kryptonite to us. We can't have it. We don't want to ever get sick. Get a flu shot. Get another shot. Don't ever get this. Don't ever get that. Stay away from each other. No, that's not how life works. We have to build our immune system. Like you said, we're going to get sick. It's going to happen. How good are you going to be protected with your own immune system? How healthy are you going to be going into it? That's why we all respond differently when COVID comes. We told everyone, you're all going to get it. They thought we were crazy. We're like, no, everyone's going to get it. You can't hide from life. Okay. You just can't do it. Western medicine tries to convince us that you can hide from things. It's not how things work. By the way, this works for other things in life too, like experiencing pain and any sort of bad life experiences. You can't avoid bad life experiences. You can prepare yourself how you're going to deal with them. How are you going to deal with pain? How are you going to deal with loss? Oh, I'll never experience loss the rest of no, you will. We're all going to experience loss. How are you going to deal with it? How well prepared are you going to be? So we have to start retraining our minds and our bodies to start preparing ourselves for how we deal with life's challenges. It seems so easy when you say it, right? But it's like, that's the thing they don't want us to know, because it doesn't make them money. It doesn't make them money for us to cleanse ourselves and to go outside and run around the block and engage with each other and have moments. These things in life don't make them money. So, but that's the challenge ahead of us, and we just have to be better at this.
Well, I always talk about my parents. Why were my parents? They were tough as nails. Why? Because they came up in bad times and they didn't have money. When you talk to old people that came up in the 40s or something like that, they had tough times, a lot of them. And a lot of them, they're tough. And just like you said, because tough times make tough people. What is it? The hardest steel come from the hottest furnace, right? I remember very early, and when COVID had started, I was reading everything I could. I'll never forget this. I read this article. There was a lot of places about this homeless shelter up in Massachusetts, near Boston, just outside of Boston. And so there was, because remember they were saying it's going to wipe out all the homeless people. They're done. And they were trying to hide them. So look, what did they do? Let's bring them all together and put them in hotels instead of letting them wander like they do in various areas. Okay. And bring them inside instead of letting them outside and get some sun, right? But here's what's interesting. There was 500 or so, right? And they said, okay, let's test all these homeless people. 37% of them tested positive. Not one of them showed symptoms. And you know what they said? Oh, that's terrible. They're going to spread it to everybody. And here's what I said. These people live on the streets. They eat out of trash cans, anything they can get their hands on. They survive. They deal with cold that would kill us. Literally, they're in Boston, for God's sake. You ever been there in the winter? We die and freeze to death. Yes. They go. Their immune system looked at COVID. It's like, screw that, man. That's a Wednesday night for me. Their immune system looked at COVID. They're like, oh, really? I'm supposed to be scared of this? Not happening. What we saw was the people that lived in difficult situations, the stuff that they eat, the bacteria, we barf as soon as we smelled it. But their body has gotten them to a point where they can eat things that we wouldn't eat, where they can smell things that we don't smell, where when they run into these bacteria and viruses and stuff like that, either their body can fight it off or it might quarantine it. Their body just says, I don't know what that is. Let me put something around it, shove this aside and urinate it out or something like that. But I firmly believe that they could have learned from the homeless people and then said, well, the mistake we would make would be hiding everybody away from it. Just like kids, it was a mistake. When they let kids back to school, they all started getting sick and all of these viruses and stuff. Why? Because part of growing up is your body identifying new types of illnesses, and your body strengthens its immune system by coming into contact with viruses and illnesses and things and bacteria.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that the gauge of the homeless population, we had that in LA as because we have like the highest homeless population in the country right here in LA, and
Right.
the state of California, really the whole state. But when we saw the COVID thing hit, they told us that people were going to be dead in the streets. And so of course that would include homeless people. And just like you said, I mean, that was our gauge to go, wait, something is off. And that's when I personally realized this is not, none of this is accurate, because where were people dying? They were dying in the hospital. And when we look back at those I think that's a hard hitting reality for a lot of people. Even now, they knew something was wrong. They knew we did this wrong. They probably regret, the people that got the thing, and they regret it now. I don't think a lot of them fully haven't thought about this, but when you really ask people that are people that are ready to talk about this for the first time, I always ask them, so I ask them this question, where did most of the deaths happen? And it's the hospital. And you think, well, how does that make sense? If the place you go to get cured, to get treated, wouldn't you have more people outside of that treatment area be dead? No, they were fine. They were outside. The homeless people were outside. They were, like you said, they had already built up strong immune systems for all the things they'd been through. But what was going on in that hospital? That's the thing that it's a hard
ventilators.
reality.
Did you know
ventilators and remdesivir?
88% at one point in New York. 88% of the people that they put on ventilators died. It was a death sentence. So why would you put people on ventilators if 88% of them died?
And that's again, it's like to process this and go, wait a minute, why would they do that if it wasn't? Why would you keep doing something if it wasn't working? Well, we have financial incentive, right? We have $30,000 bonus per ventilator. So I don't know if people know about that one, but that's absolutely 100% true. And when you're getting these type of incentives, you can call it what you want. If it helps you sleep better at night, that it means that we have a more COVID outbreak in our area, so we need the extra money. No, it's called a bribe. It's called a bonus. It's
incentive. A financial incentive to treat for a specific kind of treatment that doesn't work. How much of they were paying like $100,000 each or something for a ventilator, right? 88% of the people died, but you could give them some horse paste. It cost $1 a pill.
Yeah,
it costs $1 a pill. So what do you got to lose? The guy's got an 88% chance of dying if you shove him on this ventilator. Give this thing $1 a pill. What is it going to do? Kill him? He's a dead man anyway. But you can't try that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so these are the questions. I guess it's better to have them now than never at all. And it's definitely a hindsight thing, like coulda, woulda, shoulda. But here we are now, and I want to think about this, because I know there's a lot of people that are new to this conversation. Where we've been having it for a while, but people that are starting this, how do you talk to your family and to your friends? How do you talk to coworkers or people that you see, people that you've been close to and you see online? You see they're posting stuff, and I bet everybody watching right now has at least had a handful of these happen recently, where you're scrolling through whatever you're on, and you see somebody that is posting, I regret to inform you we've suffered a loss, and they're doing these tribute posts to people, and you might not know who the person is, you might know of them, but you see people close to you suffering right now. And they're saying, we've lost another one. Why do people keep getting sick, or what's going on here? They're not necessarily ready to have any conversation about this thing that we're talking about, Garland. But how do you start that? Is it our place to? These are things I still think about. Is it our place to say things like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear. What was it? And they go, well, we don't know. They just dropped dead suddenly. We don't know what happened. Just a heart attack out of nowhere. Really? 30-year-old just had a heart attack? That's horrible. Oh my God, I'm sorry for your loss. Is it our place to say, well, so you don't know what happened? Do you know how many of the thing they got? Is that our place? Or are they going to be like, what the hell did you just ask me? How dare you bring that up? How dare you? How dare you, Garland? We're suffering right now. You're going to ask about, so like it's sensitive. But then if we do that and they want to talk and they go, oh, you know what? They might say that. They might go, you know what? I was thinking about that. I think they had 4 or 5 of those things. Go, oh my gosh. and then you've opened up this door to have a conversation. But it's hard, Garland. It's hard for us to not be able to talk about a thing. If it was smoking, if it was lung cancer, you say, "Oh my God, Grandma Ginny just died. It's lung cancer." You're like, how much did she smoke? Oh, she smoked a pack a day.
And everybody will look at you like, oh, if only Grandma Jenny hadn't smoked, she might still be alive a few more years.
Exactly. But they would never, if you asked them how much did Grandma Jenny smoke, you would never say, "How dare you ask that question? Your grandma my grandma just died of lung cancer. How dare you ask me how much she smoked?" That would never happen. So here we are, and we might have to start having this conversation. I just want to tell people, we're not being a-holes here. We're trying to help. We're trying to understand. We're trying to make sense. Do you really think it's the right thing for people to say goodbye to their loved ones and go on with their life with total uncertainty, total confusion, have no idea what happened? Is that okay? We have to start thinking about, how do we actually have this conversation now? Again, we're not doctors. We're not scientists. We're people that care. And we want to know all the possibilities here so we can help others and do something about it, like we've done about smoking. By the way, that kind of almost worked itself out with you don't see people lighting them up all the time anymore. So that's good. What can we do about this one? I don't know. It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah, I think you're right. I understand that there were some issues about Pfizer that actually did a safety study and hid the results. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I was finding this out recently here. So we'll back up. If you guys remember this, there was this big moment. It was a few years ago where there was an EU council, and one of the journalists went in there and asked the VP of Pfizer. He asked her point blank, "Did you do safety tests before releasing this product to the public?" And she looks back at him, and she smiles, she smirks, and she laughs her way to the answer. And her answer was, "Of course not. We didn't have time to do that. We had to move at the speed of science." That was a big, big moment, a big aha moment for a lot of people, that she said that right there. And it wasn't like a gotcha moment. This was a well-rehearsed moment, Garland. We know that the laugh and the smirk, it was rehearsed. She knew she was going to be asked that. She prepped for it. It was a deflection. It said, we're going to do the optics on this is that we're going to go with, we don't have anything to be apologetic about. We have nothing to hide. We just had to do it. So no, of course we didn't do that. When we saw that at the time, Garland, we said, she's hiding something else. She's changing the narrative in advance to look like we didn't do any tests. Of course not. But we're saying they're going, no, this is going to end up being a double lie, because eventually you're going to have to admit that you did do the tests and then you hid the data. That's actually what happened. So we're seeing this now that Pfizer had conducted the tests. All the people that had gone through this, I don't know if you found something on your end. There it is. There it is. That's it. This is in the same, we got the Yale test that we were talking about. This is linking this. Okay, so this is showing the effects of the COVID vax, but Pfizer had done the test in advance. People had all the test subjects. We had people dying, getting all sorts of diseases. They did those trials. They hid the data, and then they released it. They sold it to all the governments around the world, and they released it. That actually happened. So no, she was actually lying then when she said, "Of course not." Now we know they did.
Yeah, it says a couple of things, that those with the syndrome had different proportions of immune cells compared to the control group, as well as elevated levels of COVID spike proteins years after being vaccinated, right? And they were found in 134 subjects who contracted coronavirus and suffered it from a long period of time. So that sounds like long COVID syndrome can be associated with that also. Both groups showed a reactivated Epstein-Barr virus, meaning that patients with this vaccine syndrome were adversely affected by the vaccine and might continue to have their health compromised for years to come.
Yeah.
That was surprising to find spike protein in circulation at such a late point, right? So you're looking at this. For many, the post-vaccine syndrome had been life-altering. They talk about a woman who's been fighting the syndrome ever since the Astronomica. She says, but we go on and on. Fever, dizziness, headaches is part of the daily routine. Brain fog, in a stupor. I mean, you look at this, and basically they also said the problem that they had was doctors that wouldn't listen to them, doctors that wouldn't listen, that wouldn't. And they talk about it. The refusal to face the possibility that COVID vaccines came with long-lasting side effects is nothing new. So they couldn't find people to look into it, And here's the thing. So even in this late date, like YouTube and some of these places, just for saying this, just for showing documents that can be found in the mainstream media. This is on AOL. Look at this. This is AOL. So mainstream media, and clearly they're saying things, if you'd have said this a year ago, had my whole channel demonetized for saying these things, right? Yeah. And now what I find interesting about this is all this talk about science, right? I'm not a scientist. That ain't my area of expertise, right? But people who are not scientists, who read online, who used anecdotal stories and things like that, we knew this crap. We knew it before they put it in the paper. And now it's like WikiLeaks. You know what the crooked politicians are doing. And every now and then WikiLeaks releases something. You're like, aha, I knew it, right? This is not like, we're not like, oh my God, who would have thought this? These are things that we're like, hey man, I think this thing might screw with your immune system. Perhaps somebody should look into it. You're a crazy person. And then they do the studies and they're like, yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you guys thought. The crazy conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, no, the conspiracy theorists. We've been. I guess what are we 10-0 now, Garland?
Yeah.
but the ingredients. That's the other thing. I mean, we saw the SV40. That was another study. We found that was in the jab. Now look, there were ones that didn't have it. So this is where it gets really weird, because we saw there was a doctor in Australia that came out fairly quickly, like back in early 2021. And she told us, and this is not us saying it. This is a doctor that said it in Australia. She said there were three types of I don't know what we call it. The three types of the thing, right? That went out, and they're all numbered. They're labeled. There's actually a website we can all go to. I don't know if people know this. You can go to howbadismybatch.com.
Wow.
Yes, that's an actual thing. Howbadismybatch.com. You go to it. If you still have your old card, you had to get into things in society. If you want to participate in society, you got to have this card. So if you want to go back, grab that card out of whatever your bottom drawer and dust off the cobwebs. Go to howbadismybatch.com. You can type in your batch number. It's on there. Where you got your first one, your second, your third. You can type in the number. You can see how many reported cases have been reported to VAERS. And if this is a big deal, because there's different ones for different batches. And what this Australian doctor said, that would have completely been misinformation. You never would say something like that in 2021. You would never say that there were different batches with different makeups of ingredients. So the SV40, that's a cancer-inducing ingredient, wasn't in all of them. We also know, and she said this, and this checks out too, there was a batch that had nothing in it. It was a saline solution. So we tell people now, you might, if you don't have any symptoms, if you have no effects right now, and we're already 4 years past this thing, heading into year 5 here soon. Hopefully we get to that's a big mark, by the way. The 5th year is a big mark for us. That's a
really
that's a goal. Yes, because in 3 to 5 years, we'll start seeing some of the long-term effects. So we're still in that 3 to 5 window right now. If you can get to that 5-year mark, that's a big goal. That's a milestone. We can have a celebrational moment with our loved ones at that 5-year mark. But let's look at this. So the saline is a possibility that you might have gotten a saline. That would be great news. That would be excellent news. You could have gotten that. Another thing we found out was that the temperature in which these were being stored was affecting its ability to be effective. Thank God, right? That's another good piece of news. If you happen to get one where the temperature was raised too high in storage, the effects gone down. So there's a lot of different elements that go into play, a lot of different factors to say, well, what type of effect did I get from my particular batch? So go to how bad is my...
Uh-oh. Matt froze. I guess they didn't like that.
Let me... Oh, wait,
Oh, there you go. You're back.
okay.
You just froze for a second.
Okay.
You're good.
Got it. I got to fix the focus on here. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, good stuff, man. I tell you, this is a good conversation. I'm glad we're allowed to have this kind of stuff now, hopefully. And hopefully people will look into it. But we're going to keep doing it and certainly appreciate it. Well, we're just about out of time. I got to get running. I know you got things to do. So where can people find you again online?
Well, since we're talking about the punishment on YouTube, I just want to be clear. So our channel got terminated on YouTube for having these discussions, and we were getting medical misinformation emails from Google, and then they pulled us. They said, medical misinformation, you're dangerous, you can't talk about this stuff. So our YouTube channel is gone. However, we do have a backup channel we've been using. It's called THL Presents. So you guys can find us on our backup channel now. We're good so far, no strikes. THL Presents. But our main one, and you can see right under my name, is the Homeless Left on Rumble. Rumble's been our go-to. We've been able to keep our conversations on Rumble. They don't pull our plug. They definitely surveillance us. They keep tabs on our data, but they don't pull the plug on our conversation. So we appreciate that about Rumble. It's the Homeless Left on Rumble. It's THL Presents on YouTube.
You know what's interesting? I'm trying to search it, and it won't come up.
You can't search it, huh? You actually have to type it in with the @ sign. So you go @
Yeah, and when I search it, guess what?
Yeah.
When I'm searching on YouTube, THL Presents channel, you guys are I didn't think there'd anybody that would be more black marked than me and like that. You guys don't even exist. If you search it, nothing. There's a channel called THL. But not THL.
I'm sorry. That might be it. That might be it, because we had to add presents to the personalized channel. But THL is us.
No, this just is the next best thing in Afro beats.
Oh, then that's not. Yeah. You guys have to actually type in the @ sign. So you do youtube.com/ you go @THL Presents. We'll come right up.
Let me try if I can find. Let me look. YouTube's just terrible. THL. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. There we go. Son of a gun. So I wanted to let people see it. I always like to do that. Sure. Let's take a look, everybody, so you can see what it looks like. There you go.
This was our backup channel because they got rid of our other one. We got Craig. You see Craig Pasta on there in the banner.
There we go. There's our main guy, Pasta, right? Main man, Pasta.
Yeah, he comes in. We do Thursdays he comes in on Thursdays for a little bit with us.
There we go.
Some of our stuff. So we're just getting it started again. But guys, it's the Rumble channel has been our go-to. We can count on Rumble. They're not gonna, we're not gonna go blackout on there. So that's good. We're happy there. So that's the Homeless Left. It's under my name, the Homeless Left on Rumble. Check us out. We're on twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. So yeah, that's twice a week. I got a great guest coming up tomorrow. We're gonna have on the one of the last remaining Goodfellas alive that are remaining, that was in the Goodfellas movie. His character was himself is actually featured in that film. So yeah, that's going to be a great conversation. His name is Michael Franzese. He was just on Bill Maher. He just did a little Bill Maher episode, but he'll be coming on with us on Tuesday.
Oh, that's awesome. One of the good fellas. I got to see that. Well, thanks a lot. And thanks a lot, everybody. Hey, share this on all your social media platforms. Hit like, hit subscribe. If you can afford, buy me a coffee or Patreon or anything like that. Certainly appreciate it if you can support the channel. If not, don't worry about it. Just share this on all your social media platforms. We're out.